IDLES have a new album out. It's called Joy as an Act of Resistance. It's fucking excellent. I think it's fantastic. It is fire. Oh my god, it is so good. I think it tops Brutalism. It's a fantastic hardcore punk slash post-punk record I recommend you listen to. It's a lot less one note than Brutalism was in my opinion, and I like how this new album isn't really afraid to show a sensitive side. Through the vocal performances, through the lyrics, it's a lot more emotive in my opinion than Brutalism was. Brutalism was just like very angry British dudes pissed at the state of the world and all that shit. It kind of just seemed like it was that for every song, and it was fun. It was definitely an enjoyable album, but I feel like it got a little bit played out, a little bit stagnant around halfway through. The overall album experience didn't really leave me like stirred like that, or really with much of a huge impression. This album's like way more broad in its just subject matter. It tackles things like drug use, toxic masculinity, you know, beauty expectations, and finding true love, and things that are a little bit more personal. And it presents it all with the same very raw, British, hardcore, punky, aggressive sound that you heard on Brutalism, making for a really interesting and creative blend. It's a really engaging listen. I think the opening track, Colossus, does a fantastic job of just creating a really tension-winding, suspenseful atmosphere from the intimidating, repeating hook that goes and it goes and it goes. Constantly really just fricative drum fills that are just kind of lit throughout the track, just keep it really sort of intense. And then you have the vocal performance from Joe Talbot, the lead performance, who was just so untamed on this track, and to a frightening degree. The lyrics on this track, from what I can gather from them, seem to just be outlining the frustration that comes in just living in the sort of vicious cycle of just having to live in the footsteps of your parents and whatnot, and resorting to drugs as sort of your only means of escape. It's a pretty chilling song topically, and the song Switch Up at the end, that was definitely very throttling and unpredictable. However, I do feel like it kind of killed some of the momentum it was building. The abrupt ending to kind of felt like a bit of a cop-out, but still, this is a pretty exciting opening track that I think kicks it off in a really just startling, thrilling way. The song Samaritan's all about just the stereotype that men have to be, you know, all emotionless and stoic, and, you know, men, and we can't, you know, express our feelings. Then we have Joe Talbot on this track expressing how he's pridefully just belting out lines, like he's talking about how he's a real boy, and he cries, and he's just like talking about how he kissed a boy, he liked it, he doesn't give a fuck, and it's just such a triumphant song. Just these anthemic moments I think are just really stirring and invigorating. And then you have songs like Love Song as well, which is also a very anthemic track, which is all about just like how Joe is yearning to find true love. The completely unhinged performance from Joe on this track is just perfect. Like how he's expressing just how badly he wants to find like a genuine connection with someone else is really, and just the way it is paired up with the really aggressive hardcore punk idol sound. It's weird because this is quite a sensitive topic, and you're hearing it being presented so aggressively. I think it makes it all the more impactful. I like how the writing at times on this album is kind of sloppy, and it's like not grammatically correct sometimes. Like on this track, Love Song, the way he's like, I want to be your best ever friend, forever best friend, just saying how he feels, just like not even worrying about if it's even like worded right. It just makes it feel all the more honest. The groove on Love Song as well is one of the most intense on the album, with this really frightening upward guitar stroke that just kind of pierces through every other bar, which I thought sounded really cool. Television as well was an excellent track, all about sort of the beauty standards that are shown to us on television and stuff. And I like how the hook on this track is like he goes outside and he feels free, you know, he doesn't give a fuck about what's on TV, he smashes all his mirrors, you know, he's not worried about how he looks, he's just embraced all of his imperfections, and that's sort of like the message of this track, is just to love yourself. Just a lot of really just positive messages going on in this album, and they're all just sort of delivered to you in this like really aggressive, brutal way. It's pretty interesting. I found it really captivating. My personal favorite song is definitely the song Never Fight a Man with a Perm. The fucking lead riff on this track is phenomenal. Every time it repeats, it's like it's coming to life more and more. It's like it's reaching out to grab you, it's getting closer and closer or something. It's just so like twisted. It's confrontational just in the best fucking way, and Joe Talbot on this track sounds so brilliant. He's the most untamed and aggressive on this song, the most on this track. He sounds like King Cruel's alcoholic stepdad or some shit. The way he says, you look like a walking thyroid. Suave cause you watch Get Carter, you are a catalog. Like, I just fucking love it. There's something about these just like fucking British vocal inflections, these just like North London is it gets me going, dude. I think it's so great. June is probably the most gorgeous track on the album, quite a slow song. This song is all about dreams and how they can sort of infiltrate and linger in your mind in the real world. He's sort of just kind of clinging on to this idyllic dream he had, and it's just a really powerful, poignant, personal moment on the album. Very slow, very patient, but it was lovely. Definitely the most wounded song on the album for sure. But the album is full of absolute gems, you know. And I think, however, my big problem, I guess my only problem with the album would be that it doesn't really stick the landing too well with the last handful of tracks. You know, we have the song "Great," which has a hook that is very grating. I'm struggling to come around to the hook on this one. He essentially just spells out the word "great," and it feels a bit cheesy, especially with that kind of obnoxious guitar on top of it too. Then we have the song "Cry to Me," which is a cover of a Solomon Burke song, and it just kind of breezes by. It doesn't really leave much of an impression. The vocal performance from Joe feels a little bit flaccid, you know, compared to the other tracks. I feel like he could have brought something really throttling to this cover, to this rendition of the song, but it just kind of ends up being the least essential song on the album. I do like the song "Glam Rock" and how it's depicting just like a couple of bankers who are on drugs just having a really wild conversation. Like the refrain, the 10 points to Gryffindor refrain was pretty great. But the final track, "Rotweiler," this track, I think it overstays its welcome a little bit. It takes a little while to really get going for me before it starts to become engaging, but I do think it ends off pretty well. I like how it ends off the album just with that kind of keep fucking going kind of refrain, just like, you know, fuck the system, just burn your house down and just smash it, fuck them, just like this really just like, and he yells unity, just really like triumphant ending. It's so simple and just direct, but so impactful as a result of that. There are a couple duds in the second half. I feel like it has a bit of a sloppy ending, but generally, this is a fantastic album that, in my opinion, blows Brutalism out of the water. Brutalism was still solid. I know a lot of people loved it. I didn't love it. I enjoyed it, though. And there may have been songs on Brutalism that went harder and were more cutthroat and off the fucking wall. But this album, at times, it decides to kind of reserve that a bit in exchange for songs that are more meaningful, memorable, and impactful, and poignant, in my opinion. And the messages and performances all across the board here are just wonderful. And it's never unentertaining to listen to as well, instrumentally, that is. I'm feeling an 8. I think it's fucking awesome, and I recommend it to everyone. It's dope as fuck, and that's my review. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.